witches and wizards of the world. This is the Hogwarts Chaplain coming to you from the Room of Requirement, broadcasting across the globe on the WWN, the Word and Wizard Network. My friends, it has been a sad week in the history of the presidency of the United States. As you know, on this network, we have endeavored from the very beginning to be a source of inspiration and support and sanity for those of you in the resistance, those of you trying to understand the American political system in its current state, and to understand the current Muggle president to the extent that that is possible for the rational and spiritual person. My friends, the president has a habit of using a particular form of communication very popular in the Muggle world. They call it sending tweets. We have always tried to analyze, if possible, the meaning where it exists in these tweets, as the Muggles call them, of the current Muggle president. But because we serve mostly the magical world, we want you to understand the nature of these particular communications. Therefore, we were going to use magical language. We could not call them owls. My friend, that is an insult to the great creature, the owl. We figured mosquito was a better term for this kind of 140 character in the hands of the current Muggle president, toxic form of communication. So we try here on this network to capture as many of the president's mosquitoes as possible and mention those that are worthy of mention, either for great reasons or terrible ones. In the past week, there were a couple of mosquitoes sent out by this current Muggle president, and I will tell you that because we have viewers and listeners of all ages, we are not actually going to read this particular mosquito. My friends, suffice to say that it was a reference to a news anchor who has been giving negative press to the president, a former good friend of the president. And he attacked her for some kind of facelift and talked about her bleeding and being ugly and stupid. My friends, many people, even in the party of the current Muggle president, have declared this particular mosquito toxic and beneath the dignity of the presidency. This accusation has been leveled against the president for a number of actions since taking office, and in fact, before. My friends, what we are interested in here, though, is the particular response of the current Muggle president to the backlash against this mosquito, specifically his spokesperson trying to explain to the free world why its leader would say such a thing. My friends, the current Muggle president has a press secretary, and the person speaking on behalf of the president last week about this particular mosquito is a Muggle named Miss Huckabee Sanders. Notice the words she used in defending the current Muggle president's communication. The American people elected, she said, a fighter, and should expect that when the president is hit, he will hit back harder. My friends, it is still an open question as to whether or not if one's politics or manner of handling the presidency's attack, that it is to fight back or to hit back to reference someone's facelift and the blood that comes from it. But be that as it may, someone who was listening to Miss Huckabee Sanders asked, "Miss Sanders, you have small children. Is the president a role model that you put forward for your children?" And then Miss Huckabee Sanders gave an interesting response. She said, "There is only one perfect human. God is the only role model she discusses," so she says, "with her children, not her boss, not the president of the United States, not the leader of the free world, not someone in charge of nuclear codes. No, my friends, the only role model that she says she shares with her children is God. And Jesus Christ, she believes, is the only perfect human person. She will not apply any of the standards or teachings of Jesus to her children or to the current Muggle president, but she is sure that this is the great role model." Well, this is rather a random act of theology, actually, in the middle of an otherwise toxic news conference. But my friends, let's just analyze this, and it's important to do so, because although this is not just a random act of theology by Miss Sanders, it is a reflection of things the current Muggle president has said about his own faith. Asked many times what is his favorite book, he is quite fond of saying the book he wrote, the book he paid someone to write on his behalf, The Art of the Deal, is probably his favorite book, but he says what nudges it out just a little bit is the Bible, which he claims to this day is his favorite book. But of course, he says The Art of the Deal is a close second. So my friends, we are not going to hurl a book at him that he has not already said is his favorite book, his North Star. My friends, let's just consider for a minute the favorite book of the current Muggle president and what wisdom it sheds on this particular mosquito. In fact, what it sheds on his view of women in general, only by things he has actually said and done for all to see. My friends, let us begin with what that particular book, his favorite of all books, says about revenge. This idea that if you are hit, you will hit back harder. We begin in the Old Testament, my friends, where it says, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, a life for a life. Keep in mind this particular group of verses, though it is often used to justify certain kinds of violence and war. Remember, the context is that the ancient world surrounding the Jewish people were practicing disproportionate justice. Someone would commit some sort of crime against a person or even a sovereign, and the response would be to wipe out whole villages or whole families. And in the face of disproportionate acts of justice, even revenge, this particular group of verses says, no. If you are dealing with an eye that is injured, then only an eye can be taken. A tooth, only a tooth can be taken. One life, only one life can be taken. It is actually a teaching on moderation. It is not, as Miss Huckabee Sanders says, when you're hit back harder. That's the lesson she's learned from the role model she talks about. This is odd. But let's go to the New Testament, which is also the second part of the current Muggle president's favorite book. Jesus, the great wizard of Nazareth, takes up the teaching that we find in the Old Testament, saying, you have heard it was said and written, an eye for an eye, and a tooth for a tooth. But, said Jesus, I tell you, when someone strikes your right cheek, offer him the other. Do not resist the evildoer, he says. Do not strike the evildoer. Do not commit violence against the evildoer. He says, if someone takes your shirt, then give him your coat also. So not only that you should not fight back, even proportionally, but that you should never return violence for violence, my friends. What about the wizarding world? Is there wisdom in the wizarding world for us this day to respond to the current Muggle president's most recent indecent mosquito? Yes, my friends, think of Sirius Black, the godfather to Harry Potter. Now, my friends, Sirius Black has a mixed past, but that's good news for those of you who are godparents, for those of you who are disciples, to realize you can be broken and still be faithful. In dealing with Bartimus Crouch, who was abusing house elves, and it was upsetting Hermione Granger, what did Sirius Black say? He found it to be a character deficit to see this kind of treatment of inferiors, and he looked at Hermione and said, if you want to know what a man is really like, watch the way he treats his inferiors, not his equals. This may be the pinnacle of wisdom from Sirius Black. He is not for bullying. Keep in mind, Sirius Black was himself bullied, and he was a bully. In fact, we believe, according to J.K. Rowling, that Sirius Black actually came up with the nickname for Snape back in school of Snivelous Snape. He participated in the torture of Sirius Black as a teenager. So Sirius Black knows what bullying is, and he has grown up in many ways and grown away from that kind of childish, cruel, criminal treatment of other human beings. And he is right. Watch how someone treats their inferiors. When you are the President of the United States, the leader of the free world, you are the superior person in every human interaction in terms of power. A cable news host, a woman, someone who interviews him in a debate, another woman he attacked, also mentioning looks, blood. My friends, these are all people who are, in a sense, inferior to the power of the presidency. And how is that being wielded? Let's just say in a way that Sirius Black would find reprehensible, a character defect. And we at this network agree. My friends, what can you do? How can you resist? What does it look like to be the resistance when you have mosquitoes like this coming out every day? In some cases, every hour. Well, we say only this here at the WWN, the Word and Wizard Network. We invite you, we call you, we encourage you, we cheer for you, and we pray for you that you find a way to lack the character deficit of bullying. That you look at the people around you, especially those with less power than you. And if you are a white or a Christian American, for example, most people have less power than you. Find those situations in which you can exercise the elevation and the ennobling, my friends, of others. That is what it means to act like the Bible is your favorite book. Not say that it is, but live like it is. Do not bully, my friends. There is no freedom in that. There is the oppression of those you are bullying, and there is your own oppression. My friends, do not worry that being kind and being meek makes you a doormat. My friends, not bullying is not being a doormat. The opposite of the bully is not the doormat. It is the disciple. Thank you for tuning in. Remember, be a seeker.